A Tennessee Democrat believes the president's comments rise to the level of an impeachable act. Congressman Steve Cohen says President Trump has failed the presidential test of moral leadership. Congressman Cohen serves on the House Ethics and Judiciary Committees, and he joins me right now. Sir, with a welcome to you. Let's talk about this presidential test and how you measure moral leadership. Can you explain that?
Well, I think it was clearly not on display with the president and his responses to Charlottesville. I mean, the president's supposed to be a leader for American values, and Nazism and the Confederate KKK successor and interest are not American values. They are for terrorism. They're for Holocaust-type annihilation of people. They are for destruction and death. And the president should unequivocally stand up to those type of groups, and he didn't do it. It was an unbelievable failing of moral leadership in our nation, and one that I don't think this president can recover from, because I don't think he has a psychic anchor, a moral base from which to operate.
Do you find this to be different than previous Republican presidents in history who have engaged in, I guess, racially divisive politics, you can say? I mean, does it feel different this time?
This man is totally into political mode. He has been raised in a world of ratings. And, you know, when he got off on Arnold Schwarzenegger and his ratings at the religious conference in Washington, I mean, he was just showed how much this occupies his mind. He's not become president. He's continued to be Donald Trump in need of attention, Donald Trump in need of approval, Donald Trump looking at ratings. He's always in campaign mode. He's unlike any other president, I think, that's ever existed. He makes Richard Nixon look like a calm, sane individual.
I'm sure you've heard the criticisms from the president's supporters who say that it's the media that's telling falsehoods about Trump's views on race, since Mr. Trump has said words condemning neo-Nazis and white nationalists. So why do you feel his response was inadequate?
Well, it was equivocated because it's tried to put blame on both sides. Even if the Antifa was there and did things, they were there because of the Nazis and because of the Confederates. And when they went out and marched the night before with those tiki torches, it was a reminder of Kristallnacht, in my mind, the 1938 German terrorism on Jewish people in Berlin. And it was also looked like Klan rallies where they used to have big bonfires and that burn crosses. And so the whole idea of the fire, I mean, it was so well staged to remind people of that, and yelling, "The Jews will not take our place, blood and soil." These were just the most bone-chilling sounds and chants, and they were in lockstep. There were no very fine people there in that. The president was not willing to disengage them from his political team, and that's wrong, and we should not have somebody who depends on white supremacist Nazis and KKK to be part of his team. They're part of his 32%. I don't know how much he can go lower. He does have that 32%, and those people have drunk the Kool-Aid. He is the Harold Hill of this generation. He's brought the Music Man, for those who might be of another generation. And he's just brought a bill of goods and sold them to the American public, and it's just sad what he's done, because the man has no moral conscience.
I know, Congressman, that your colleague, California Congressman Brad Sherman, has filed articles of impeachment about a month ago, but this one over the Russia investigation. You've said that you're going to file articles of impeachment. You've also got 3 congresswomen who've invoked the 25th Amendment calling Mr. Trump's removal. There's no chance of any of this passing, though, is there? I mean, it's a GOP-controlled Congress. Are you worried about this just coming across as an attempt to score, you know, political points?
No, I think that you have a moral duty to act when you see immorality on display. Robert McAfee Brown was a great theologian, and he said sometimes it's important to oppose evil, but if you can't defeat it, as long as you go on record against it, you can do things that in ways you can't even imagine can make a difference. That's always been a guiding post of mine, a guiding charge. And when I saw what went on at Charlottesville, it was time for me to go forward. I understand the idea that he might hang himself and is doing a good job of it, and that we need to wait for Mueller and the investigation to come up with more succinct points that might get Republicans on board, and Republicans need to come on board. But from my perspective in the district that I represent, majority African-American district, and he basically told Jews and African-Americans, I don't care about you. I care more about neo-Nazis and Confederates. It was time for me to take a moral stand of Robert McAfee Brown. I don't expect it to succeed now. I think the elections of 2018 will dictate whether the Republicans get on board the impeachment train or not, because it'll be based on whether or not they think they're going to lose their majority in 2020. They may lose it in 2018. But if they don't lose it and we make gains, which I think we will, I think Republicans will try to salve their consciences for putting this incompetent individual in the White House, and they'll also try to put a check and balance on him, because right now he has so much opportunity with the Republican House that hasn't stood up to him that I think Democrats will get a majority. But if we come close, they'll see the writing on the wall for 2020, and then they'll go in action to put him out of office, because they don't want to lose power. It's power more than morality that'll move the Republicans in the House.
All right, Representative Steve Cohen, thank you very much for joining me on the broadcast. Appreciate it.